Welcome back, brother.
Welcome back. Welcome everyone. What's up, brother? We're
Uh,
just we're just saying let's hit record. We have to start talking more about the topic that we were just touched upon
yeah, yeah,
about um about success. I think this is the topic for today, talking about success and happiness and how that is related with each other. I think this was a really interesting uh story that you shared. Maybe we can start with that. How about this? You start
yeah,
again.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like I wish we had hit record like 10 minutes ago. When we were first like diving into this, because like one of the things that you initially brought up when we first jumped on the call was this idea of working through the various different like roadblocks and hurdles that men find themselves in on this pursuit of like, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, success, right? Because like I think we all have to find our own definition of success,
Hmm.
of like what does it actually mean to be successful in our own eyes, and not just in the eyes of the world and society, but like, if financial independence for you and success for you means that you have $1 million in the bank and your house is paid off and your cars are paid off and you can take
Yeah.
vacations whenever you want, awesome. But success could also mean that maybe you just own your own little tiny home on a piece of property somewhere, and you have very minimal bills and you have very minimal possessions, but you have an abundance of time
Exactly.
and are able to spend that time with your friends and family and doing the things that you love.
Yeah.
That can also be a different definition of success. And so like I before I share this story, I thought this was really important to bring up, because when we start comparing success by somebody else's definition to our own life,
Hmm.
happiness is never going to be achievable, and we're always going to feel like we're never there.
Right.
We're never where we want to. And it's almost like it's putting that success goal line so
Hmm.
far into the future that we're just always going to be chasing it and never getting closer to it, because we're trying to achieve a level of success that was never meant for us.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is I think the important part also, like for for some it is never reachable because maybe that's not their blueprint to be successful in maybe materialistic way, right? In I think this is really tricky because when we, as you said, when we define success, it is already defined. Society defined what a successful life looks like. We are conditioned to to follow this pattern of I want to be successful in this society, right? And it comes with certain attributes that you have to have, which of course is sad that you can learn it. Everyone can be successful. It's just to understand how the thing works, right? But energetically, people, and I always see that people who are, I mean, they're smart. They're very aligned. They are, I mean, everything is working for them, but they can't really breach this threshold of being financially successful. And maybe this is also something that that is, yeah, just blocking their path because maybe there's another thing that makes them successful that is in accordance with their blueprint. And I mean, I talked before we went into the hit record about friction, right? And I mean, everyone is born with a gift. Everyone, I truly believe in that. I think that we all have a blueprint where things are easy for us, things that you don't really have to put too much energy to come into flow. And if you understand what that gift is and use that during the life as an inner compass, then you can of course navigate through life and see like, okay, this is where my stream is following, and this is maybe also what helps me to be successful, to have a successful life. not in just a materialistic. I don't neglect that. I don't say that materialistic success is stupid. No, of course. I mean, this is just another path that you can also approach. But I think we have to zoom out and to see like, okay, this is just one option. Yeah, it could be also just success is having time. Success is being a good person.
Hmm.
Yeah, being a compassionate, loving person. If I achieve that and throughout my life and really stick to it, then I can say I have had a successful life. But I think it's difficult to find what your individual subjective success is if we are conditioned, if we are all running towards one stream.
Yeah. I you just touched on something in a multitude of different ways just then, of the roadblocks that we find ourselves hitting towards moving in the direction of success, societal success, or the success of our own definition, of these inherent belief systems that we all carry that are wrapped up around what success looks like, whether we are able to achieve success or not able to achieve success, whether financial abundance is something that's destined for us or only destined for a certain few, like whether you believe you're worthy of having success or whether you believe you're not worthy of having success. Like all of those inherent beliefs actually are going to dictate and manipulate how life shows up for you. And I think to like hammer home the importance of doing the work in a different way, of like, thus far in the podcast we've talked about like doing the work and helping to work through anger, and then doing the work and helping to work through all the various different emotions, and like
Mm-hmm.
doing the work in being a part of a brotherhood and things like that. But like doing the work looks so many different ways depending upon what you're trying to achieve. But I
Yeah.
think fundamentally, when it comes down to it, and I think this is the responsibility of every single adult, is to unlearn everything that has limited you in life,
Mm.
to relearn who you truly are and what you're actually capable of doing.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Which is which is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking not just about our life. I mean, we're talking about our ancestors. All of that is encoded in this body, right? I mean, there's so much things that we can unravel and try to integrate. And I think there also we have to be careful, of course. Immediately, this thing about healing comes up, and like, oh, I want to be healed. I mean, there is no being healed. I truly don't believe that the goal is to be completely healed. I think it's more about being in touch and experience with life, and to work through maybe some facets, some fractions in you from your past, from your ancestors, that allows you to just shift the perspective. You know, I mean, if we are just looking in one direction for generations and generations, just being captured in that pattern, then nothing really changes. You know, it's like being like a robot, just
Yeah.
like iteration after
Nothing
iteration.
changes if nothing
Yeah.
changes.
But I think life always, and it would be like that if the environment wouldn't change either. Like if everything is static, then we would just be like following one path. But life always hits us with some noise, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
there was always comes some some distraction in our life, and that forces us to lean towards another side of the path, maybe to a little bit to the left or to the right, and then friction starts, right? Then you feel, oh, actually, this is feels weird. What is that? And then then life puts you onto that path, and then you have to work through that. And then it's like, oh, what a shitty life. But actually, what happens is life gives you another opportunity to shift your experience, to shift your perception, right? Because when you are working through things, you literally, your awareness is focusing and changing towards solving that problem. It could be financial, it could be relational, it could be whatever there is in you that causes friction is there to experience life differently and maybe take it to another path. And again, and now we are coming in with the term success, right? And it's really difficult to say like this is successful but that not, this path is not successful. And maybe we have to redefine that term, because for me successful, it's really something very, very subjective.
Yeah.
A very
Yeah.
subjective experience of, wow, I made it through the day is success. Yeah. Or I created a wonderful artwork, this is success. Or I just had a wonderful night and had enough sleep. What a success. I mean, whatever. I'm just trying to grab some words, but I think you know what I mean. It's like really subjective and it can change from day to day what success means.
Yeah.
So to take out that pressure, I think that is what I was focusing on and pinpointing, like taking the pressure out. Oh, I'm not successful because I haven't reached this materialistic success.
I appreciate you saying that like success and the definition of success can also like change, right?
Mm.
Because I know if I rewind 20 years ago, what success looked like for me then at
Yeah,
20 is
yeah,
very different than what success looks like for me now.
absolutely.
And that just comes from like age and experience, and also I think comes from I read this book a while back called The Second Mountain, and the
Mm.
concept was that we spend the first part of our life climbing the first mountain, and this is the mountain of the American dream, of like trying to achieve all the materialistic successes that society tells us
Yeah,
that we need to get in order to, you know, have done the thing.
yeah,
But then the majority of us, especially in middle life, find ourselves at the top of the first mountain, viewing an even larger mountain that is calling us.
mm. Mm.
And this is the second mountain. It's the mountain of purpose. It's the mountain that actually is like, okay, once you've achieved those materialistic successes, what does life mean then? Because if you've spent your whole life trying to buy the car, trying to buy the house, trying to get the wife and the family and all of the things, once you have those things, what then is the purpose of living?
Mm.
If that was the only purpose driving you to do everything that you did, wake up every day doing the things you do every day, then what's the point of it after?
Right.
But what's interesting is that between the first mountain and the second mountain is a huge valley. And there's
Mm.
no trail to navigate it. There's no map. You just have to kind of fumble through. And I think this is where many of us find ourselves. And like some of us, you might label it as midlife crisis. You might label it as spiritual awakening. You might
Yeah.
label it as, you know, just redefining your life. And what may present that second mountain may be a divorce or a loss of a job or a loss of a family member or a pet or something that makes you stop and ask, is this actually what I want from life?
Yeah. Yeah. Just asking that question alone is already like a big part of the path. I totally resonate with it, and it's, you know, I think the problem what I see in our society, and I would love also to focus a little bit on man here, is that success is equal happiness, right? So if I am successful, then I am happy. And if we are conditioned in the term in a way that we think materialistic success equals happiness, then we reach that part, that point, that mountain, and realize, oh, actually, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I did something wrong. And then like this inner emptiness starts, right? It's like there's, as I said, there's no purpose. I reached it, but I'm still not feeling happy. And then maybe this this journey of in pursuit of happiness is starting. Like I'm seeking for happiness, and this is where also a lot of people start also the spiritual path of like, oh, everything that I touched in this materialistic 3D world is not making me happy. Relation, money, name it, yeah, all of that is not making me happy. So then going deeper and understand what does that actually mean, happiness. Is happiness something I have to achieve? Is this something outside, or is it a state inside of me? And but it's scary. It's scary to leave that safe mountain, because everything in our society is built upon financial success, careers. The whole identity is built upon that. I mean, I started my career in science, and when I reached that mountain, when I was like, okay, I am a scientist. I have a doctor in neuroscience. I have my position there. Then I felt successful, but I felt miserable. There was a huge hole in me, and nothing could really fill that. It was empty, and not empty in a spiritual meaning. And I mean, really like this. There was a craving for more, for being happy. And I know I was at that time I was talking with a lot of friends of mine who also were in very safe positions, and I said, I have to leave. I can't do that. I have to cut off of that. This is not what I want. There was this inner calling to reach another, but I did not know what the mountain is. I did not know what the path is. I just know that I don't want to be here,
Yeah.
right? And it's scary. And I remember that friends of me told like, stay where you are. You put so much energy, you invested so much time and money and everything for having it. Now you have it, and now you want to throw it away. And like my point here is that sometimes also this sense of safety, being safe, is hindering us to do the jump into the unknown. But I think this is a very, very important thing in man. This is like what we talk about initiation, like what indigenous uh, uh, um, civilizations, or especially the ones who are very connected with nature, did with this initiation into adulthood, uh, to to go onto an uncertain path, to discover yourself in it, leaving the tribe, leaving the safety net, and see what comes out of it. And I think this is something that we in our society are totally missing. We are lured into this safety haven of just have your career, have enough money, and then you can buy everything. But I truly believe, and especially in man, in this body of a man, there is this calling of maybe for adventure, for initiation, for the uncertain, um for creating a new path, and not just one, but constantly creating new paths. And on the spiritual aspect, like experiencing life again and again from a different angle, from a different perspective. Yeah, I think this is really powerful if we just understand there is this term of success in our society that is conditioned. But what is in you? What is deeper in you that is constantly asking this question of, is that all? Is it all?
Yeah.
Am did I reach now the top? And what now?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I felt before we moved into our bus
Mm.
and traveled the country. It was like when we were talking about making that decision of doing life differently, it came from having the house and being married and having multiple cars
Mm.
and owning my own business and making a ton of money. And like, I sat down one day and asked myself, I was like, is this it? Like, is this literally what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing? And it didn't sit well.
Mm.
Like, there was just something that felt really off of that. I'm literally just going to spend the rest of my life just trying to work to buy the things that I think are going to make me happy. And they make me happy at first, but that happiness is fleeting because that happiness isn't coming from within myself.
Yeah.
And this is where I think happiness is also a really slippery slope, because when we get on the pursuit of happiness, anytime we are in the energy of pursuing something or seeking something, we
Mm.
will always be in the energy of pursuing and seeking, and we never actually achieve that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So, this is like one of the biggest lessons on the spiritual awakening journey, healing journey, like whatever you want to call it, is to get to the point of realizing that happiness is actually an inside job. It's not an outside job. No amount of money, no amount of things, no amount of drugs, no amount of girls, no amount of whatever is going to
Yeah.
give you lasting happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because to speak to the men here, in every single one of us is a little boy that just wants to feel safe, wants to feel loved, and like you said, wants to adventure, wants to swing from the trees, wants to roll around in the grass and play in the dirt and just live life.
Yeah. 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 Using this year, this wonderful vessel, this biosuit, what it is meant for, right? To to live life. And I think we are such a mental driven age right now, where we completely forgot about the body and forgot about what this body is actually capable of and why it is in resonance energetically with where it is, part of nature, right? Beautiful. Yeah. And I think, oh, there's so many things that comes in, like the, to live in cycles, and all of that is part of, I wouldn't say feeling happy or more happy, because as you said, we have to be very careful with this term. I would actually say that, I mean, being happy is an emotion,
Mm-hmm.
which is coming and going. This is nothing that can last. Yeah. What we are talking in the spiritual realm of like happiness is a state of being. But it's not that you are feeling happy, it's that you're feeling whole, that you're feeling complete, that you're feeling in peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what we always feel, and we're like, oh, there are moments where I feel happy. Yeah. But then just it it evaporates. And
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I want that feeling. And we try to hold on to it, but it cannot be captured. So to just let go of it and just to appreciate the moments you feel happy, instead of I want more of it. Because you can literally be in a, maybe from outside looking, in a miserable situation, but you still can feel happy, happiness. You can be happy, right, in certain moments. So this is where I think is a slippery slope, and like we build literally a whole civilization around achieving happiness, trying to get things, trying to like our dopamine receptors are just constantly working because it's part of the system to make
Yeah.
people like in a certain, like running in a certain way. It's controlling. It's easier to understand, like, okay, if I press that button, people will run into this direction. But to let go of this dopamine kick and say like, hey, maybe there's something else that is more important of pursuing. Maybe there is something deeper in me that has more value. You know, there's not just happiness. Maybe having a purpose of being a good person.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds so pathetic and easy, but I think this is really the core value that all men have, right? I mean, this is the base. Like, just have a, just be a good person, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just have a good life. Don't harm anyone. Like the basics. Don't cause harm to yourself and to others. Don't cheat. Don't lie. Be compassionate. Help others. And if we just reduce everything to these values and live according to those standards, I think life would be so different,
It would. It
right?
really would.
And but that's the thing, like if you want to achieve something, and I think it's important to be also in a creative expression, don't get me wrong, have this standard, the standard of being a good person
Yeah.
when you
Well,
achieve
I think
anything.
that kind of steers us back towards that story that I told you before we hit record. Um, that a couple of weeks ago when I was down in Austin for my wife's family reunion, we were staying at her cousin's ranch just outside of Texas. And him and I were having this really great conversation one day around like success and finances. And of all the people that I know, I would say he's probably one of the most financially successful and well off individuals. And he was saying that it was interesting that when he finally started coming into his material success and was getting connected with other people who were also achieving material success, that like when people finally achieve that like number goal, like whether it's $1 million in the bank, 10 million, 100 million, like, you know, whatever it is that for them is like, I've made it once I've gotten to that number. Said
Mm.
what's interesting is that they really start to show their true colors,
Mm.
because when people achieve that style of money, they typically will go one of two ways. They go full blown materialism, consumerism, ego route, or they go the route of the heart and they want to just be more generous and share. And what was beautiful is he was like, that's why all of you are here. I want to share all of this with you. I want more time with my family, not a
Mm.
nicer car.
Mm. Mm.
I want more time doing things like this than having another house or another business. And like,
Yeah.
he's like, you know, obviously, like when you get to a certain level in life, you have to keep doing certain things to maintain the, you know, ability to pay all of the bills for the things that you've accrued and acquired. But how can you make the money work for you instead of you having to continue to work for the money? So instead, you can share the wealth. And whether that wealth is through sharing financially or sharing your energy or sharing your time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a quote that like people will never remember how much money you had, the car that you drove, or the house that you lived in, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. And I mean, when you shared that story first, uh, I was just saying to you that it's interesting because um, it's again, it's not about the money. That is, I believe that it's not just the money that makes the difference, right? It shows maybe more clearly because it just has a different magnitude. If you have a lot of money, and if you're an asshole, then people will feel that. If
Yeah,
you're
for
very
sure.
rich, right? Um, but it's something that we have also in our blueprint. Like there are people who are more compassionate and people who are more narcissistic.
Hmm.
And the more money they have, the more like the magnitude is changing. But if you, especially like if you're a compassionate person, if you're a good person, um, you still do good, although you don't have a lot of money. You still share. You still want to you still want to do good because that's in you. This is what you embody, right? And if you are more narcissistic, egocentric, then it's probably the friction, the part in your life where you have to put your focus on, your awareness on. This is where you have to work through, maybe. And if you get a lot of money, then the magnitude changes, and actually, it's then even better to look in it because it's more clearer for you that you're an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone is hating you, right? I don't know. Maybe that's why a lot of people who like this uh, 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 what is it called in English? The word is missing in my brain now. Um, Prejudice. Anyway, so if people like have a lot of money, then money makes you bad, right?
This is
But
another
maybe,
belief.
yeah. But what I think is like maybe we are living in a society that makes it easier for people who are egocentric and narcissistic to reach financial success. So it's a filter. By that, maybe it is also meant by life to, if you really reach that mountain and be really financially successful, and you are struggling with your life because everyone hates you because you are a really bad person, good, because now you reach your mountain to work through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can try to become a better person. And I think if you are a good person and you gain a lot of, because I mean, money is just energy, right? It's just energy. So the more energy you have, like it's changed just your your magnitude of interaction, maybe, or of the effect that you have then in the society. But it's not necessarily changing you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that money changes you.
Well, you just made the point of how it is and isn't true that money can change you. Because when you take the perspective of money as just energy, like everything is energy, it's just in different forms, right? So if energy, like the more energy you have behind something, the more it amplifies that thing. So if your
Exactly.
underlying energy is, I'm the type of person that does whatever I need to do to come out on top, that energy is going to get amplified, or that belief, that
Mm,
character, that personality is going to be amplified the more money that you have.
exactly.
But if you're an open hearted, generous, caring person, that energy is also going to be amplified with the more money that you have. So, like,
Mm.
I want the listeners to really think about this for a second, because if you do carry the belief that, rich people are assholes, or in order to acquire a lot of money, I have to do bad things or do things that are against my moral compass, or um, money is the root of all evil. Like if when I say this, if it brings up a visceral sensation within your body, you're most likely carrying this belief within inside of yourself. Whether it's yours or whether it was something that your parents handed down or generationally, whatever, it's in your DNA, it's in you. So, part of what will help you to achieve more financial success is to rewrite and get rid of that belief. So, find some super successful people that are doing good in the world and be
Yeah.
around those people. How does it feel to be around those people? Like when
Mm.
I was around Rachel's cousin Devin, and like we were having conversations sitting in the sauna, or sitting in the pool, or just sitting outside, and like just kind of being in nature, in the elements, which I think
Yeah.
is another special thing, to like have conversations in that type of environment, that it's like I felt really inspired. I felt inspired by the things that he was doing and the things that he was talking about, and the way that he was just continually being more and more generous, more and more hospitable the entire weekend. It's like, okay, this is what it means to be financially free to
Yeah.
me. To
Yeah.
be able to support those people in your life, not even bat an eye of like, I mean, he gave all of us like free swag stuff from one of his businesses, ProMix, and like took us all out for dinner and ice cream and paid for all of the food for the whole weekend and like insisted on doing this even though all of us were like how can we also contribute, how can we give back, because this was his way of being able to share that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it allowed everyone to really enjoy the weekend. Parts of the family that aren't as successful, that maybe are a little bit more worried and concerned about finances, took that pressure off and allowed them to really enjoy the weekend and be in tune with one another and really just have fun and let go of the worries of the world. So it's like, there's another quote that's we're the sum of the 5 closest people we spend time with. And so if you find yourself spending time with people that are always talking about how hard life is, or always talking about how things are a struggle, woe is me, that are stuck in the victim mentality, like I hate to say it, even if they're your closest friends, they're not going to be the ones that are going to help carry you where you want to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a hard decision that we have to make, is to like create distance with certain people that aren't in alignment with the direction that we want to pursue, or that second mountain that we want to climb. Because maybe they're okay being on the first mountain, or maybe that was the second mountain for them. But do we want to stay on the mountain with them when we can see that there's another one that's more in alignment with where we want to go? We know the view is going to be that much better once we get to the top of that mountain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like these are some of the challenges that we men do have to face, and honestly women too, is like having those hard judgment calls of like, what are the communities that we're actually engaging in, and is that community helping us to be that better person, or is that community just helping to feed those beliefs that are going to keep us stuck and stagnant in our life?
Yeah. I think this is so I mean, it is difficult. I think or let's say it can be difficult to change your environment if it's not just the environment, but if it's obviously in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are carrying that belief, then it's really hard to see it differently. Like, you need input from outside. You need really be inspired by someone or something that is just taking you opening you up. And I mean, I totally know how that feels, because like my background, I mean, I come from a family where there was no wealth at all. Like, I mean, my parents literally left their home country because they were poor. They were poor, and then they moved, like went to Germany to seek financial safety, right? And financial safety just meant at that time that they were just working their ass off and just had the bare minimum to survive. And like growing up in poverty and in a surrounding where poverty is the norm, really changes your perspective on life and on society, right? I mean, you are constantly blaming the ones who have a better life, constantly, you know. And it is creating also friction. It is creating also a kind of segregation, because it's really hard to get out of this mindset. And the more you're in this mindset, you're also creating this belief in the other, in the people who are more wealthy than you, that you you just how to say, you just are where you have to be, because you're not worth it, right? So the one side is looking at you as a victim and keeps you as a victim, and the other side is blaming the one not allowing them to grow and not allowing them to also reach uh, successful life. So when I broke those patterns in my early life, because for me, I mean, I was the first in our family who also reached like such a career. So it was really difficult also for my family to support me mentally, emotionally, because for them it was like, we have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Just go. Um, but I also had also a lot of prejudices coming towards me, like people who were judging me because of my background, because of my ethnicity. Like all of that was projected towards me, and it was really, really heavy burden to work against that. Right? It was much easier to just blame the world. So like, you're all assholes, you're all racists, you're all just trying to keep me down, and to work through that. So I think it's really hard to change it, and I just tried to understand like what was the factor in me, and I think it was my willingness to change and to, as you said, leave the circles where I was, leave the safe harbor. So the more I went like on the other side of the road, where people, or where the kids were playing that were not like were rich families, it changed also my energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could assimilate, I could learn, I could understand to get out of this victimhood. And I don't say that this victimhood mentality is completely off of me. I think I still have it in me. I can easily fall into that. I can easily say like, yeah, I mean, of course, everyone who's rich is an asshole, right? Because it is ingrained in my DNA. It's ingrained, like
Yeah.
my ancestors. Um, but yeah, it is important to do this step, and that's the hardest thing. Like work from inside to first understand. Okay, there is a pattern in me that is keeping me down, that is shifting me towards this victimhood mentality and against growth, and to realize that to work through that and to change, to rewire, yeah, your or not rewire but reframe your inner concept about it, and by that opening doors to like, okay, let's see how is it on the other side, let's meet someone from the other group, let's spend some time with them and see if it's still matching with my beliefs, if they're all assholes or not. And you will see like, no, they're not assholes, it's just in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how much these like stories and beliefs that we carry really change and dictate how we look at other people, how we look at the world, and in many ways limit our ability to be able to expand our experiences in life through these like prejudices that we carry or these judgments that we carry. But it's like when you have that victimhood or you have that mentality of blaming everyone else for the woes of your life, you give your power away.
Yeah.
Like by saying it's other people's fault, then it has, you basically put it on those other people's shoulders to have to correct the problem. And if that's the case, what is the likelihood that another person is going to take the time to stop their life to come and be like, oh, I need to help this person.
Yeah.
I need to change their belief so that they
Yeah.
can have a better life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not a high probability. I would go as far as saying.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take ownership of everything that you are responsible for, just like you did in your life, Samir, like you made the decision that, you know what, just because no one else has ever gone to college, just because no one else in my family's ever become a doctor doesn't mean that I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And you pursued that.
Yeah.
Even though that ended up not being the path that you truly wanted to be on, that was in alignment with where you actually want to go in life, I think is beside the point. The point is that many times throughout your life, you have chosen to pursue something other than what other people thought that you should do.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the key that makes a difference.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. You know what just popped in my mind? Um, an analogy of a computer game. You know, I shared with it with you. I love this. I love this idea of that our life is basically a virtual reality game,
Yeah, yeah,
which actually, by the way, we get more and more evidence from science that this actually could be something that is true. I mean, if you're going into the in the quantum world, then it all of that looks like that this is just a simulation. But I was just thinking about if I would be in a game, like if I would develop a game, uh, like Second Life uh, 3.0, uh, and I would just have a lot of avatars that are conscious and can run around and can make their own decisions, what they feel is their purpose in life and what success is and all that. But I will put some algorithms in it that it should make it also a little bit difficult. Like there are different levels in this game, but you have to figure out there's no plan, there are no rules, obviously for you. Maybe I hide it in the stars, and if you're understanding astrology, then you can see some coding. But anyway, so my point is that if we just see it as a simulation, then it makes sense to not just thrive for the easiest path, right? Because it would be boring. I mean, that's not a game then. I mean, if you, I don't know if you were, I was a gamer. I grew up with C64 Commodore and had my first games there. And throughout my 20s, I was playing a lot. And you know, the best games were always the ones where you had no clue what to do at the
yeah,
beginning, and
yeah.
just like the whole story unfolds while you're playing the game, and like, oh
Open world
wow,
games, man.
exactly,
Yeah,
open world
choose your own
game.
adventure.
And you know, and you were willingly choosing adventures, you were willingly going into the dungeons, you were willingly going there where the monsters are, because you know, like, yeah, that's where action happens, where the fun is, right? I mean, you're not just running through landscapes and just build a house and sit there and spend the rest of your gaming life. So you see, it's interesting that maybe this whole algorithm is about challenges. It's about like, okay, there is a challenge. There's some friction now in my life. I feel that, and I have this wonderful suit which gives me direct feedback about my environment called emotions. I can feel like, oh, actually, this is not feeling good. Let's see what it is. Yeah. So it's interesting to see it from that perspective, and to see like, or to be more humble with life, to be more humble in the situations you are, and not being so. I'm speaking for myself actually. So for all the listeners, I'm not just trying to speak from above. Like I literally speak to myself and going through a really hard phase in my life right now. But yeah, to be humble and to also appreciate those moments that are feeling shitty, that are feeling maybe hopeless and difficult. um, I was just today, I said, like, I was meeting a friend of mine for coffee, and I was parking my car. uh, I had this parking app, and I was just setting up for the parking lot to pay the parking ticket, and haven't seen that I had the wrong license number on that. Then I come back from the coffee, and I had like a beautiful ticket on it for paying like $50 an hour. It's like, shoot, something like that, you know. And
Yeah,
now it's
yeah,
about, okay, I could freak out, I could be really pissed and say like, what a stupid idea to meet. And but I felt this emotion, and then I was sitting in the car with my friend. I was like, yeah, it's interesting, like just to pass that emotion through, and all of a sudden it's just a joke.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, it happened. Wow, what kind of experience? Okay, what a game.
So hearing you say that, it there's a couple of things that pop up in a couple of directions I want to go with this. But the first one is that I think what you're touching on in that experience is like letting go of the pursuit of happiness and instead being on the path of acceptance and content.
Yeah.
Because at least for me, the more I've let go of always wanting to be happy, because happiness is what we could consider of one of the more like elevated emotions. Like even go as far as saying one of the more extreme emotions. It's when the pendulum swings really, really far one direction. And so you could consider like deep depression, the opposite of that happiness pendulum.
Yeah.
Well, contentment's going to be right in the middle of where like it doesn't matter if you're having a shitty day. If you're content with your life, that shitty day actually becomes something that you can just navigate through. It just is what it is. But if you're always trying to pursue happiness and you have a shitty day, all of a sudden it's like the pendulum wants to swing over to that depression, because it's like a pendulum can never stay all the way on one side. If it stays on one side, it develops more momentum.
Exactly.
And as soon as it gets let go, it carries all of that momentum to the other side. And then we'll swing back to the other side. And then we'll swing back to the other side. But like when we stay in that contentment, when we're right there in the middle, then we can nudge that pendulum and it can swing to the other side. And then it might swing back to the other side. And then it comes right back to the middle. We can even pull it and bring it all the way over to the other side of happiness and be okay with swinging back and forth between the different emotions, because no matter what emotion we experience, we are still content with our life.
Right. It's so beautiful, this analogy with the pendulum, because I was just talking with my friend about the pendulum. We had another analogy, but it was really interesting because what I want to add to it is what we talked about was that if you swing with the pendulum, then if the pendulum is moving away from you and you are chasing it, you're chasing happiness, then you're trying to run towards the pendulum, but it is just moving away from you. On the other side, like if you just stand still, then the pendulum will hit you and it will create the force of pushing you back, right? It's like never really a balance. It's always like either you're chasing or you're pushed back, instead of finding this contentment space, which is really being just in the being aligned, right? Like not chasing, not pushing, not forcing, and just saying, okay, whatever this pendulum is going through, it is okay because I'm here in the center. And if it's happiness, then it's happiness. If it's like depression, it's depression. But both are just the two extremes of this one pendulum that is swinging constantly. It's never stopping. And this is what we're experiencing with emotions, right? So we're going through all the emotions. It's not just like, I want to keep it on that part. No. If you try to hold it, then it will just literally push you into the other side, right? But stay in the center. And I think this is also what all the, at least Eastern traditions are teaching. Like if you're going to Zen or Taoism or yoga, all of that is about an alignment and to not identify yourself with emotions. Like to be content and be outside of the pendulum, but let the pendulum swing. The pendulum needs to swing. You need this body. As I said, like this is our spacesuit for this game, which a lot of sensors that can perceive all this beautiful virtual reality and first person view. And this is beautiful. It's beautiful to feel whatever emotion there is.
Well, in being in that place of contentment, like I look at contentment as a state of being, not as an emotion.
Yeah.
Because like when you're content, you're also not attached to any specific emotion, outcome, state of being. Everything is great and everything is nothing all at the same time. Like it doesn't really matter what you're doing, who you're with, what sense of emotion that you're in any state and time. Like you are just okay with what is. Like, you know, the Eastern philosophy in all of those is attachment is the path of suffering.
Mm, mm,
Because when you're attached to things, emotions, people, places, material items, when that thing is gone,
mm.
what do you do? If you're so attached to that being a part of your state of life, what do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
And
Jeez.
like, you and I both having lost our fathers, like
Mm.
that is one of those states that you go through when you lose a parent, is it's like, oh, now what do I do? Because I don't have this pillar within my life.
Yeah.
Now, of course, depending upon how that pillar was formed and how it showed up in your life, maybe it was a crumbling pillar that didn't really support you very much at all. Maybe you don't miss that they're gone.
Mm, mm.
But there's been many times over this last year. June 10th was my dad's 1 year passing anniversary. And so it was like, I've been doing a lot of reflecting over these last couple of weeks of like how life has been different, and it's been different in both positive
Mm,
and negative ways.
mm.
Because as much turmoil as my dad and I had in our relationship, there were still certain things that I still went to him for advice for. There were still certain things that I would just share with him, or he would share with me, that was this bond that's no longer there anymore. So it's like
Mm.
there was a slight support system that disappeared, but yet there's all kinds of other different support systems that I do still have in my life that I can lean on, that can support me. But because I wasn't so attached to life in that way, like I am very much okay with the aspect of dying. Like that is one fear that I'm very thankful I worked through years and years and years ago. Um, Actually, it pretty much disappeared after I dove out of a plane at 13,000 feet and skydove. It was like I faced that like mortality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And ever since then, I just haven't had that fear of like what happens after this. I know there's something, I don't know what it is, but I look forward to that adventure. So like not being attached to life really gives you that freedom to start to
Yeah.
choose, how do you actually want to live life. And that was one of the gifts my dad gave me in his passing, was by not having his judgment, not having the pressure to do things in a certain way, or that if I was choosing to do things other than how my dad would do it, then it was wrong. To
Yeah.
have all of that be lifted off of my shoulders, actually over this last year, I feel like I've lived life more on my own terms than I have in the 39 years that came before it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's resonating very much with me, and I would love to have another full episode to dive deeper into that aspect, because I think there's a lot also to uh, to unrive. No, I have some problems with words today. Sorry.
It's all right. It's late for you too.
To unwrap, because I feel that there's a lot of a very important, like energetically very important shift that is happening when we are losing a parent, and
Hmm.
also as a man losing the father. Um, Energetically, something is changing, something is shifting tremendously, tremendously. What you also express with space, or like there's freedom and freedom, but then also you feel that there's a lack, like there's a hole. I would love to dive deeper into that, because I think this has also a beautiful topic about to go deeper into the father wound
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what that means, and how to work through that. Um, yes, but yeah, I totally agree, and I think that the thing with the emotions and not being attached to it. I like I like also the perspective of Osho, like this radical perspective on, like, if you if you if there's an emotion, then just fully accept it, just fully go into bath in it, right? So it's not just identification, not I am that, but it is there for me. Yeah. And I can fully feel it. Like go into happiness, go into bliss and fully feel it, but also go into the pain, go into the sadness and fully feel it. Fully. Because this is what it means to be alive. We really have to understand that this is so precious. I mean, this vast universe of emptiness, of just beingness, without emotion, without feeling, without perception, just beingness. This is like, if you're in a meditative state, this is beautiful. I know. Bliss out. But there is not the spice of emotions. Yeah, this is what makes life life. To feel. And the more I learn to appreciate that, and again, I don't say that I wish that I wouldn't feel pain. I mean, that's of course who wants to feel pain, but still to have this shift and this awareness of like pain is nothing bad. It is in my life, and I accept it, and I try to fully embrace it. At least I try to embrace it. It is a path. It's not
It's
just a
like
shift.
what you were saying earlier. It's that pain is also that friction. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny because every single time you've talked about friction throughout this, I keep having this image of like, you know, medieval times, guys on the sharpening stone, and he's spinning the stone wheel and he's just moving the sword back and forth. And it's like, that's the thing. You can't sharpen a blade with cloth.
Yes.
You can't sharpen a blade with something that's soft. You have to sharpen it with something that's going to create friction. You have to sharpen it with something that's actually going to take some material away.
Oh, that's.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's happening when we're sharpening a blade, right? We're actually taking material away to create a sharp edge again. That then you can use something soft like leather to polish that edge and hone it even more. But sometimes it really does take breaking something down in order to build it back up again.
Right. That's a beautiful analogy. Yeah. Yeah. Just really hit me with like we are carving things also away. So then things are falling away from us. And this is what happens if there are friction. Yeah. This is like you cannot hold everything together and go through a process without losing parts of you, losing parts of your whatever you are holding on to. And that's interesting. It's like, again, and it is not about, I mean, when we are sharpening something, then we have a clear goal, right? I want to have a sharp knife so I can cut things. I think we have to be careful with this analogy according to life. I think, at least I don't believe that there's a goal, right? I think it's just, so again, like I go through frictions and I'm just changing constantly because I'm a process. I'm not constant.
Wait, but if this is a video game, isn't there a reward at the end?
That's
Isn't
the
there a
tricky
final
part.
boss at the end of the level?
That's the beauty of this game. It's infinite.
Infinite levels.
Infinite levels. That's the nirvana of all gamers.
I'm really curious, Samir. Just I'd love to, as we're wrapping kind of this idea up of like, neither you and I aren't perfect. Like let's get this straight, y'all listening. Like we don't have it all figured out. We're just sharing the things that we have discovered on our own path. So like, as we've said before in episodes, like take everything that we say with a grain of salt. Like take what resonates and leave the rest, because life really is about you finding your own path. And sometimes when things aren't clear in the direction that we're meant to take, it's actually because we have found ourselves on our own path that nobody else has walked before. So that's why there's not these like clear defined steps to move forward. But like, Samir, if listeners that are really resonating with this like topic today of like trying to find your own success, of like letting go of the attachment to situations, emotions, you know, everything that we've kind of talked about, like what would be the advice you would want to give to people that can help them move towards this like path of finding their own definition of success?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think again, it the path unfolds when you are moving towards it. Like when you're on the path appears. But I think it is true to be in action, to be in the move, not just to stay still. As convenient as it is to just say like, "Oh, I'm safe and it's okay," it's okay. As soon as it's like it's okay, but it's not good. Um, that's like an indicator for go, just be on the move, like be in action. And I think for me personally, I did a very radical decision of just quitting my career, selling everything, living from the backpack, just traveling the world, and never really arriving anywhere till today, since 12 years. But during this time, I was on the move and I was literally carving a lot of things of my of my persona that I built before away, and new things appeared, new personas, new new parts of myself revealed, which is really beautiful. And this is still an ongoing process. But I think what helped me the most was finding inner space. Really finding inner space, especially from your mind, especially from this voice in your head that you're identified with. As soon as this voice is not longer an identification with yourself, the more you can also see patterns within you. You can hear the voice and just observe it and say like, oh, interesting. Why is it this voice saying that to me? Why is it always repeating the same bad things or whatever it is, inner critic, and you know what I mean? So I think inner space, and call it awakening, whatever, it's just like creating this inner space. And the good thing is that we have so much possibilities to maybe find a spiritual teacher, maybe find something that is inspiring you, a book about mindfulness or about uh, inner peace. I think that like that everything is there, everything is out there. There's nothing new. Like everything is already written. It's just about to find it. And I think to listen to your intuition and be on the move, and then find the right voices, I would say.
It's good advice. Yeah. Yeah. Creating space. It seems like it always comes back to that creating space.
It's what, well, I mean, that's the foundation of this game.
Yeah.
Understanding that you are the player, not the avatar. Brother, that was a beautiful excursion through success and happiness and inner space, I would
Yeah.
say. It's really nice to just let go also in our podcast, and for the listeners, like Adam and I, we just said to each other, we are on a free flow. We whatever comes up, we just let our beautiful mind that we have uh, just go and be in the flow. So I hope that resonates with you. Again, if you feel like, write a comment, what you think about this episode. If you have any inspiration that Adam and I should talk about, that you want to have more depth in it, then just send us a message. I'm happy to cover that.
Absolutely. We'd love for this podcast to be a little bit more interactive. You all let us know like what topics are, alive for you right now. Like what's something that you're moving through in life that you'd love for us to unpack and maybe potentially offer some avenues and perspectives on of like, I mean, at the end of the day, like this podcast isn't about necessarily giving advice. I personally believe that advice is not a tool that inherently helps us to grow, because when someone gives advice to another person, it's always based upon that person's perspective and what worked right for them. Instead, like I always just love to offer information and education, and then you all get to choose like what you do with that knowledge and information and how you apply it to your life. Do us a favor. Let us know what you'd like to expand on and what we can touch on in future episodes.
Exactly. Just see it through these two avatars here sitting thousands of miles away from each other.
Connecting through virtual reality.
Connecting through virtual reality, exactly. Brother, love you. Thank you so much. Thank everyone for listening and watching, and have a blessed day.
Absolutely. Love you too, brother. Love you all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.